Deltarune's prophecy has been an integral part of its story from the very beginning, even before the game was announced. We are told an abridged version of the prophecy by Rouse in Chapter 1, and it is this cutscene that plays during the chapter selection on the menu. While the prophecy wasn't a focus in Chapters 2 or 3, Chapter 4, aptly titled Prophecy, brings it front and center with the Church Dark World. Throughout the chapter, Rouse seems very distracted. He also seems to smash several prophecy panels in an attempt to shield Chris and Susie from them. Rouse was born with the prophecy etched into his mind, a story with its ending already written. And this story ends in tragedy. Despite Rouse's best efforts, Susie learns of this final tragedy, and whatever it was shook her badly enough for her to shatter the prophecy panel before we get a look at it. She doesn't even notice that the glass cut her hand, and she tries to dismiss Rouse's fears as silly. The final tragedy is clearly meant to be a mystery, otherwise we would have gotten to see it ourselves. Susie even discusses it with Chris in the last scene of the chapter, in a way that we can't hear. Whatever it is should probably rhyme with, "To save the worlds, there is only one way." However, the panel after it kind of already rhymes. Only then will the worlds be saved. While that's not a perfect rhyme, the description of the three heroes already rhymes dark with heart and parts, so I think there's too many options to guess the specific wording. Plus, some parts of the prophecy just don't rhyme at all, especially ones that refer to specific people. One idea I've seen is that it's the player leaving, something like, "the angel will be cast away." Disregarding the assumption of the player as the angel, this doesn't really work because we already have that panel about the angel being banished showing up earlier, and there's no reason Susie would react like that. Another idea is that the Grand Fountain in Castletown has to be sealed. This ties into the game's themes of the downsides of escapism, and Chapter 5 does toy with this idea. But the prophecy says, "To save the worlds, there is only one way. Only then will the worlds be saved." Worlds is plural, the light and dark worlds. I think the most plausible answer is the death of one of the three heroes. While I've seen some people extend it to one of them killing another, like, "the girl will shatter the cage," I think that's overkill. But I think I know which of the three is marked for death. Susie. In many ways, Susie is more of a main character than Chris. She's the one who changes the most throughout the story, going from the bully nobody likes to a girlfriend and a hero with friends who love her. So how gut-wrenching would it be for this girl, who has finally found her place in the world, to die just as she hits her stride? Maybe she could be revived in Castletown like Gerson, but confining her there is his own tragedy. But other than thematic reasons, are there any clues in the actual story that make her more likely to die than Chris or Rouse? Well, I think we can at least rule out Rouse. When Susie confronts him about being so secretive halfway through Chapter 4, he breaks down. He desperately pleads to go ahead of the party, clear out all the puzzles and danger, make sure everything is safe from now on. He already has no sense of self-worth, so if he knows something bad will happen to his friends, he'd rather find a way to take the bullet. Rouse is also acutely aware of how much Susie has grown, but he seems so sad when he mentions it. He tells Chris that Susie is so nice that it hurts. He also tells Susie how nice it is that she can finally be herself. This actually seems to get referenced in one of the weirder bits of battle text, where during the Titan Spawn fight, the game itself seems to ask, "When did you start being yourself?" And when Susie sees the truth, Rouse starts tripping over his own speech as he desperately apologizes. Rouse feels like he has Susie's blood on his hands. Or rather, her hand blood on his face. Susie's reaction would also come off as insensitive if she wasn't the one marked for death. If it's her, she's putting on a brave face. But if it's Chris or Rouse dying, it's kinda rude to say that worrying about something like that is stupid. Chapter 5 also made this much more likely. When he's alone, Rouse prays to the angel to protect the trio, and then he specifically singles out Susie. He knows what awaits her. Additionally, though admittedly less of a strong point, we know that Chris also knows the final tragedy. There's some interesting implications in Chapter 5 that Chris is conflicted about Susie and Noelle's relationship. While this is most likely an indication that Chris has feelings for one or both of them, it could also be that Chris knows the relationship will end in tragedy and wants to mitigate the heartbreak. Assuming the prophecy merely calls the victim the girl, Either Susie or Noelle would be left alone regardless of who fills that role. Also, I just realized that holiday fits the rhyming scheme of the prophecy. Additionally, as U/Super Boom Pie Guy pointed out, Susie's description as the girl with hope crossed on her heart calls to mind the schoolyard phrase, cross my heart and hope to die. On the topic of the prophecy panels, if I had to try to make a rhyme for the prophecy out of Susie's death, it would be something like, the girl will see her final day, or the girl's life a toll to pay. There's also some really cool symbolism that may foreshadow the final tragedy that I haven't seen anyone else talk about. I've mentioned that the 3 triangles of the Deltarune represent the 3 heroes. This is most obvious with Chris's room in the Dark World, where they are colored to reflect each of them. The version of the Deltarune symbol displayed on the prophecy panels in Chapter 4 looks like an angel. We know the wings are the angel, but the triangles look like droopy arms and a torso, like Azrael's god of hyperdeath form. It also resembles the night, and it looms ominously over the prophecy. In the prophecy panels preceding the final tragedy, we see the Deltarune broken. I think this is meant to represent the bleakness of the situation, but there are some other ways I think we can interpret it. It could represent the knight's defeat, since like I mentioned, it heavily resembles them. A hopeful interpretation is that it could represent breaking the prophecy itself, but I don't think that belongs in said prophecy. But look at the triangles. One of them is shattered. And wouldn't you know it, that's the triangle that corresponds to Susie in Chris's room. I don't think Susie will be unsavable. As Blue says, this is a comedy, not a tragedy. Susie is all about defying fate. And she's right, we won't let this happen. But in order to stop it, we need to know what's coming. Our kindness can save Tenna even when the prophecy demands he be cleaved red by blade. All it takes to weasel out of a prophecy is a twist of the words, and if there's one thing we know about Toby Fox, it's that he loves his wordplay.